Congresswoman, it's always so good to see you. This past Sunday, you were a part of that historic Zoom call held by Win with Black Women. It raised over $1.5 million in just a few hours. Talk a bit about how that call went and the enthusiasm that we're all seeing and feeling since Kamala Harris jumped into the race.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say thank you to my amazing sorority sister, Joteka. She has been doing the Win with Black Women call ever since the pandemic, since 2020. Obviously, it's normally not over 40,000 women that join us. And so definitely there had to be some adjustments made for Zoom. But nevertheless, you could feel the excitement. And this was on the day of the announcement. So this was on that very first day, that Sunday, that she was able to organize and pull these women out. And I could not be more proud. But then again, it was still very fresh. It was the exact same day. But then the next day, we saw Win with Black Men. We also ultimately ended up seeing Win with Asian folk. We saw Win with Black queer folk. We saw everyone kind of coming together. And finally, we saw, white women for Harris. And they broke all the Zoom records, right? Well over 160,000 people. And so we are starting to see the excitement that we need to be able to take down Trump and his MAGA cult.
And let's talk about Donald Trump. I want you to take a listen to something that Donald Trump said last night about Christian voters. Take a quick listen.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians.
Okay, so Jasmine, let's talk about this, because I got MAGA coming at me right now on social media telling me that I'm crazy, because my interpretation of what Donald Trump said was he's never going to leave the Oval Office. And they're telling me two kind of resounding, repeated messages that I want to share with you. One, they're telling me that Donald Trump is too old to stay forever in the Oval Office, which I agree. I think he's too old. He's too old to be in the Oval Office. But number two, they're also telling me that Donald Trump peacefully left the last time he was in the Oval Office. And why am I saying that the man would never leave? I want to get your thoughts, because I think both of those things are stupid.
Well, I agree. Donald is too old. He's been too old. He's been too crazy. He's been too everything. He's too much of a criminal as well. But no, and y'all cut right before the really good part, where he said, I'm not a Christian. I thought that was amazing, as the super Christian folk are saying that he is our orange savior. But nevertheless, no, we know. I mean, this guy has flirted with things such as tyranny when he said things like, I will only be a dictator on day one. We know that they tried to pull a coup on us, even though they are now trying to make sure that they rewrite history and say, oh, no, this was just some sort of good patriots that were on a tour through the Capitol. They just happened to break shit, hurt people, and ultimately there were deaths that were caused as it relates to January 6th. So, yeah, no, they are absolutely all about this life. We know that the Supreme Court has set it up so that he can do whatever he wants to by giving him immunity. And we know that he picked J.D. Vance because he wanted J.D. Vance to do what Mike Pence wouldn't. Ultimately, when Mike Pence would not steal the election for him and agreed to certify the election, they said, hang Mike Pence. So when we start talking about violence and where it comes from, it is all started and ending with MAGA.
So the GOP struggling, it seems, for a consistent message to attack Kamala Harris, but they sure were quick to unleash an oldie but goodie from the Republican side, calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire. Your thoughts on that?
Basically, you just laid it out. They racist. I mean, I've been calling them racist for a long time. Even when we go back to January 6th, we know the neo-Nazis were there. We know he told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. And so they are always sending a dog whistle, but we not crazy. We also know that when we look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, and when we tie it into affirmative action, we know that white women historically have benefited the most from affirmative action. So they act as if when you say DEI, it only means a person person of color, but actually it doesn't. Diversity goes beyond just your color. But nevertheless, we know that they have nothing of substance to contribute, because if they did, they would go after the substance. And so long as they continue with their dog whistles and their nonsense, that only plays to their base, and their base alone cannot win this election. So as far as I'm concerned, we are winning.
Yeah, it's not just a dog whistle. I said the other day on MS that it was a bullhorn. Really quickly, I have to say, Donald Trump is chickening out of a debate with Kamala Harris. I think that's a big tell that he's not willing to go toe-to-toe with a former prosecutor like Kamala. Your thoughts on why Donald Trump can't buck up and actually do what he promised he was going to do?
Yeah, if I was Donald, I wouldn't want to see another prosecutor either, especially a black one, because every time it seems like a black prosecutor gets their hands on Donald Trump, it doesn't really go well for him. When you look at New York, whether you're looking at AG Letitia James and taking away his ability to operate businesses in the state of New York, or whether we're looking at Alvin Bragg and the fact that his freedom actually hangs in the balance because he's got these 34 felony convictions at the hands of Alvin Bragg, or when we look down in Georgia, where he has been running away from Fani Willis and turning in every which way that he could, because that grand jury was able to indict him and a number of his co-defendants have pled guilty, and he does not want to face the music there. So yeah, if I was him, yeah, I would be shaking in my boots as well.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, I put on social media, ready for some truth telling, and we got it with you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Great to see you.
And joining me now, Keisha Lance Bottoms, Senior Advisor to the Harris Campaign and the Vice Chair of the Democratic National Committee. Keisha, it's an honor to have you on the show. Look, there's some really good energy. We're all feeling it right now, welcoming Vice President Kamala Harris to the presidential campaign trail. But I wanted to speak with you and start first with the following. You are also a senior advisor to President Biden. I think it takes a moment to, we feel the celebratory energy about Kamala, but I think we really got to give credit where credit is due. This idea of President Joe Biden, his legacy of passing a torch to another generation, but also doing so with such decency.
Oh my gosh, I was so very proud to be a part of this incredible team. And it really has been the Biden-Harris team the entire way. And when I watched the president in the Oval Office, it reminded me of why I was so excited to support him as a candidate in 2020, just such dignity. And I remember one of the first meetings I had with then candidate Biden. He said then that he wanted to be a bridge to the next generation. And obviously, we didn't know that it would work out this way. But he was absolutely right. He was spot on in picking Vice President or then Senator Harris to serve as his vice president and to be a part of just this historic transition. I think really will speak to his legacy, in addition to all of the phenomenal work that this administration has been able to accomplish.
I also thought it was important to have you on to maybe quell some fears. We've been hearing some rumblings about legal action being taken by the GOP when it comes to the nomination of Kamala Harris. We do know she's secured the requisite number of delegates, but look, there's a process that's going to happen at the DNC at the convention next month in Chicago. What's going on in terms of the rules, et cetera? I mean, from what I can tell and from what I've been hearing, there shouldn't be any type of legal problems if Kamala Harris ends up being the ultimate nominee.
Well, I think it's quite ironic that the party that supported an attempted overthrowing of the United States government is now concerned about how we are conducting our business as the Democratic Party. But that being said, the rules are now in place that if there is another candidate who wants to throw their hat in the ring, they certainly have the ability to do that. We publish those rules, the number of delegates that are needed in order for that candidate to be considered for the nominee. But as you know, Vice President Harris has locked up commitments from the necessary delegates needed to ensure that she is our nominee. So we're pushing full speed ahead. And the bump that you are already seeing with Vice President Harris is a bump that we're seeing before we've even gotten to the convention. And so with all of this excitement, I'm really excited. Everyone I talk to is really excited. But at the end of the day, people still have to show up and vote. So that's where we're going to place our focus, making sure that people are showing up to vote, focusing especially in these states that we know will make a tremendous difference in this election, and just reminding people it's not over until it's over.
So I'm not going to put you on the spot unless you're welcoming the invitation to be able to say who you think the VP pick should be for Kamala Harris. But I'm going to read a little bit of tea leaves because Andy Beshear, his name has been bandied about. We know that he's being vetted. He's heading to Atlanta tomorrow, to a battleground state of Georgia, to campaign for Kamala Harris. But your thoughts about kind of this VP process that we're seeing that's happening right now?
Every single person whose name we've heard will run circles around JD Vance. They are all exceedingly qualified. And as someone who's been through this process before, it's a very stressful process. So God bless them all going through this. But at the end of the day, each of the people whose names we've heard mentioned have said whether they are the VP or not, they will support Kamala Harris and making sure that we defeat Donald Trump. And I really don't think that you can go wrong with any of the names who've been mentioned.
I'm going to agree with you. I don't think it's diplomacy to say that it is an embarrassment of riches in terms of the veep stakes that's going on right now. I think any of them would be an amazing compliment to President Kamala Harris. Keisha Lance Bottoms, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining me today.